My aim in this series of lectures is to give you an introduction to tourism in Australia, the big issues. It really aims to describe the business environment within which tourism happens and the social science context within which thinking about tourism and tourists has developed in order to help you understand tourism, whether you have a general interest or if tourism firm and destination management and marketing is the career direction you want to take. Ultimately, tourism firms and their managers do not survive unless they are able to understand and respond to what's happening around them, and therefore affecting their business. Therefore, having knowledge of market motivations, trends, sustainability concerns, tourism's social, economic and environmental impacts, regulatory issues, and how we got to where we are now is just critical, given how competitive tourism increasingly is. After years of working in tourism and studying the subject, the greater I think the importance of understanding the tourism business environment actually is, with respect to both firm growth and survival and the career paths that we as individuals take.
Get to know the organization sponsoring each scholarship, what it does, what its goals and mission are. The essay, which you will need to submit, should then be tailored. Tailor your essay to touch on those themes and describe what role they play in your life. For example, if you're applying for a scholarship from a nonprofit organization that supports literacy, talk about why literacy is important and what you've done and will continue to do to promote it. Every organization has an agenda. Find out what it is and target your essay appropriately. Remember, the worst thing you can do is simply submit a standardized essay. This will indicate that you're merely fishing for what might be available and not really committed to the goals and values of the organization. Some examiners will not take kindly to having their time taken up with submissions from potential candidates who are not really committed.
Could you please make welcome our guest lecturer today, Philip G. Zimbardo. Professor Zimbardo is an emeritus professor of psychology at Stanford University, where he has taught since 1968. After earlier teaching at Yale University, New York University, and Columbia University. He also continues to teach at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey. Professor Zimbardo is internationally recognized as the voice and face of contemporary psychology through his widely seen PBS TV series, Discovering Psychology, his media appearances, best-selling trade books on shyness, and his classic research, The Stanford Prison Experiment. His current research interests are in the domain of experimental social psychology, with a scattered emphasis on everything interesting to study, from shyness to time perspective, persuasion, cults, madness, violence, vandalism, political psychology, and terrorism. He has been a prolific, innovative researcher across a number of fields in social and general psychology, with more than 300 professional articles and chapters and 50 books to his credit.
Cook, as some of you might already know, was the son of a Yorkshire agricultural labourer, but what you mightn't know is that he had little formal education. After an apprenticeship to a firm of ship owners at Whitby, he joined, in 1755, the Royal Navy and surveyed the St Lawrence Channel and the coasts of Newfoundland and Labrador. In 1768, Cook was then given command of the Endeavour and sailed on an expedition to chart the transit of Venus. He returned to England in 1771, having also circumnavigated the globe and explored the coasts of New Zealand, which he accurately charted for the first time, and East Australia. Cook next commanded an expedition to the South Pacific of 2 ships, the Resolution and the Adventure. On this voyage, he disproved the rumour of a great southern continent, explored the Antarctic Ocean and the New Hebrides, visited New Caledonia. Cook's introduction of the observance of strict diet and hygiene prevented scurvy, which had been the scourge of long voyages in this era of exploration. It was one of the seminal turning points in seamen's health and welfare. His other key claim is that he was one of the first Europeans to make extensive contact with a wide variety of Indigenous peoples.
Here at last was a base from which this largest ocean in the world could be further explored. Many questions were still unanswered. How large was the ocean, and how many undiscovered lands did it hold? Way out in the ocean, not far from Tahiti, did there lie a mysterious continent? Surely if it existed, it would be inhabited, perhaps densely inhabited.
This multi-million selling internet book is still the ultimate handbook for novices and experts alike. It's written in plain English. It covers everything from getting online for the first time to news feeds. This fully revised guide covers all the latest sites and crazes. Whether you've never sent an email or you just want to keep up with the latest developments, this is the book for you.
Giorgio Vasari was an accomplished painter and architect, but it is for his illuminating biographies that he is best remembered. He traces the development of Italian art across 3 centuries to the golden epoch of Leonardo and Michelangelo. Great men and their immortal works are brought vividly to life, as Vasari depicts the young Giotto scratching his first drawings on stone, Donatello gazing at Brunelleschi's crucifix, and Michelangelo's painstaking work on the Sistine Chapel, harassed by the impatient Pope Julius II.
Deregulation, globalization, and e-commerce are exerting unprecedented pressures on company profits. In this new economic ecosystem, companies must dramatically differentiate themselves from their direct competitors, or risk declining performance and eventual extinction. But how do companies choose the right innovation strategy, or overcome internal inertia that resists the kind of radical commitments needed to truly set the company's offers apart? Illustrating his arguments with more than 100 examples and a full-length case study based on his unprecedented access to Cisco systems, Jeffrey Moore shows businesses how to meet today's Darwinian challenges, whether they're producing commodity products or customized services. For companies whose competitive differentiation in the marketplace is still effective, he demonstrates how innovations in execution can help boost productivity, whether a company is competing in a growth market, a mature market, or even a declining market. For companies in danger of succumbing to competitive pressures, he shows how to overcome inertia by engaging the entire corporate community in an unceasing commitment to innovate and evolve.
The drought is such a distinctive and extreme natural experience for the land and its creatures. all-powerful, utterly uncompromising, and absolutely uncontrollable. Gradually, you must submit to the facts, yet paradoxically you enter into a mild hallucination as you go about your days. A type of natural weirdness prevails, and you give over to this and become part of it. When you live close to the earth, drought induces a kind of trance, a kind of letting go, and a brokenness. You let go of many things, garden plants, various hopes about life itself, and most of all, your remnant and pathetically human notions of normality and perfection. They wither and die in the heat. Good riddance. Yet, strangely, a spiritual vibrance radiates between your senses and the land. A budburst within, if you like. The absolute truth of the situation begins to gleam, and the idea that truth is beauty becomes very real, and is not only consoling and enlightening, but a sensuous pleasure also. Never before have change and death seemed more natural, or the wild irregularity of an animal's coat seemed more beautiful and astonishing.
Travel challenges and offers life-changing experiences that broaden perceptions and knowledge. For me, travelling has become a lifelong quest to expand the taste memory bank, to find different interpretations of what has already been learnt and tasted, with the hope of discovering something new, combined with the constant challenge and desire to take risks and evolve. These experiences have translated directly into my work, intellectually, emotionally, and practically. I'll go anywhere where food is a celebration of everyday life, where conviviality and the pleasures of the table are cherished. And it is these places I rely on for constant and ongoing inspiration, like drawing breath. So many places, so many people, so little time, so many adventures to engage in, so much delicious food to taste, so many flavors to experiment with, so much to glean and learn. The more I see, the less I feel I know.
Kids of all backgrounds now aspire to a college diploma, yet the parchment's promise to our parents of a steady middle-class living goes increasingly unfulfilled for us, replaced by the burdens of debt. Stella, 31, is one of millions of young people in the United States knocked down by the 1-2 punch of student loans and credit card debt.
Most of us want to do the right thing for the environment. But making the commitment to change our fast-paced, convenience-oriented lifestyles can be more than a little daunting. What's the answer? Take that giant commitment and cut it up into 365 little commitments that get met one at a time. This book, The Green Year, does just that. More than a calendar, it offers simple, practical, affordable, and engaging activities that make going green a blessing rather than a burden.
We spend most of our waking lives at work, in occupations often chosen by our unthinking 16-year-old selves. And yet, we rarely ask ourselves how we got there or what it might mean for us. This work explores the undercharted worlds of the office, the factory, the fishing fleet, and the logistics center, ears and eyes open to the beauty, interest, and sheer strangeness of the
Scholarships are the best kind of financial aid you can get because you don't need to pay them back. You should apply to as many scholarships as possible during your junior and senior year, and continue to look for scholarships even after you start college. Most scholarships ask you to fill out an application and write an essay on it.
Even in the 1940s, it was easy to see how time would soon expand the economist's horizons. The link between security and poverty logically applied to developing countries as well as the developed ones, and the statesmen of the time could see this. The economic health of every country is a proper matter of concern to all its neighbors, near and distant.
In January 1788, the anchors of the sea-battered ships of the First Fleet rattled down into the sparkling waters of Sydney Cove, and 780 of England's most unwanted were herded ashore by their guards, British Navy Marines. The convicts were bullied into some semblance of order to view the raising of the English flag, as Australia became the farthest outpost of the largest empire the world has ever seen. The key findings seem to contradict our initial hypothesis.
The two variables in the study were very closely correlated.
To improve the essay, I decided to include more direct quotes.